Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, whatever. I don't know what time zone y'all are in, but definitely a good morning for me, at least. Because I am finally back. I haven't done a Halls of Horror in a couple of months because of the gallstone issue that I had. And now I'm finally feeling back to myself again and happy, more than happy, to come back and start doing these again. Anyway, though, today we're going to talk about the White Lady, or the Lady in White, or Woman in White. Probably one of the most well-known urban legends worldwide. Mostly because everybody has one. It's such a common urban legend, it's ridiculous. And we'll get into that throughout the stream. If you like what I do, and you're not already subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you do so. I'm very close to that 1K sub mark. I'm also got my Streamlabs link in the stream up there, along with in the description if you are feeling generous. That's very appreciated. I also should have my Patreon linked in the description below. Pulling up Streamlabs just in case. But once again, none of that is an obligation. If you guys enjoy what I do, I would appreciate the support. And without further ado, I might as well get into this. Or should I? You know what? No. Before I do that, I'm gonna go over the donation things again. It's been a while since I don't think I've shown them very often, but I might as well show you guys what they look like. Just because I can. Donos. So if, hold on, gotta get the alert variations up. So, $1 is the wolf. If you do $5, it is welcome to Primetime, bitch. Love that movie. $10. This is my favorite one, I'm not gonna lie. Because it's just funny. 15 is...
well, son, I guess you're right. I am a butthead.
That movie is so creepy.
Hey, Bill.
That movie's so creepy. I can't even with that movie. 20. $25.
We have such sights to show you.
I like all of these in all honesty. 50.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
And the last one. That's for $100. Not that I expect any of that. I just think these are really cool. Sorry, I had to share. They're really fucking cool, in my opinion. You hate that? Which one do you hate? The butthead one? Also, gotta say hello to everybody who's here. Thank you for dropping by. Redeemer, Luna Lizzie, Taps, and Wealthier Storm. I know I saw my buddy Mike a little earlier. Yeah, Butthead's pretty disturbing. But that's a really, really good movie if you haven't seen it. But yeah, very disturbing. It gets worse in that movie anyway. But why don't we go ahead and get into the Lady in White? She is basically, obviously, a female ghost, and is typically dressed in a white dress or something similar to a dress, like a nightgown. She's usually seen in a lot of rural areas, and most of those areas have some sort of local legend or tragedy associated with them. And that stuff is kind of, you know, never fun. And if you're familiar with superstition and how a lot of that stuff comes about, it's due to a severe tragedy and the soul not wanting to leave this world because of unfinished business. A lot of these are associated with an accidental death, murder, suicide, betrayal of husband or fiance, unrequited love, or some sort of loss. And man, these are everywhere. It's ridiculous how everywhere they are. Hey Mari, hey Kyung, and hey Devin. Just good to see you guys pop in. Really glad to have you here. The first one that we have is from Brazil, and she's called Dama Branca, or Mulher de Branco. I'm probably pronouncing these wrong because it's in Portuguese, or Portuguese. And I'm not really familiar with how things are pronounced in Portuguese. But the Brazilian Lady in White is supposedly a woman who died in childbirth or of violent causes. And according to the legend, she shows up as a pale woman in a long dress or sleeping gown. Doesn't say anything. But if she does recount anything, it's all of her misfortunes. That's if she talks. There really isn't a big, clear origin to this, but what is proposed in the Brazilian folklore dictionary is that she's related to the violent deaths of young white women and that were murdered by their fathers in an honor killing. The most frequent reasons for these are adultery, denial of sex or abuse. Basically, it's the whole you fucked over your husband or your father and you've made him look bad, so it's time for you to die, which really fucking sucks, and that's typical of that time period, unfortunately. Mari, I thought I saw a ghost in my dreams 3 nights ago. Oh, maybe you were having sleep paralysis. That would explain a lot, actually, in that case. Apparently somebody did a book on this, Monteiro Lobato, and he describes the young woman starved to death by her husband because he thought she was in love with a African American or person of color slave, and killed the slave and then fed her stewed dead guy. That's really gross, and that's really weird. But not apparently uncommon for Brazil in those areas. Or in general. But that's a really fucked up story. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie on that one. The next one is from Canada. Yes, Canada. And this is a Quebecois, or Quebecois, however you want to pronounce that shit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that on my end, but cancel. It's doing a dual thingy. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me figure that out. Oh, there we go. Found it. Let's remove that. There we go. Figured it out. Hey. Surprised I didn't notice that before, but there we go. This legend from Canada is from the Montmorency Falls near Quebec City. And apparently it is haunted by the spirit of a Canadian woman whose soon-to-be husband was killed while fighting against the British in the Battle of Beauport. They used to meet at the top of the falls, according to legend, and she decided to commit Sudoku by jumping into the waterfalls while wearing her wedding dress. And apparently she was supposed to be married to him, and yeah, he ended up dying, so she decided to go with him. Really creepy. And really sad. But that makes sense. And apparently a smaller waterfall around that area is now called Chute de la Dame Blanche. I'm trying, or White Lady Waterfall, referencing the legend. I guess I pronounced that right. I'm probably gonna pronounce a lot of shit wrong. And sorry about that, but I don't understand all languages. I swear one time I saw a man with a crooked man while I was taking my night walks. What does that mean? You saw a woman in white with a crooked man while on a walk, Young? I'm not sure I totally understand that. Hey, Nicole, you're not really that late. I just basically really started already. I'm still a little confused, Kyung, but it's probably creepy when you explain it. There's another one in the Czech Republic, and it's apparently the ghost of Perkta of Rosenberg at Rosenberg Castle. She was the daughter of an important Czech nobleman, Uldrich II of Rosenberg. Or Rosenberg, I don't know how to pronounce that. She ended up marrying another nobleman in 1449 and was really unhappy in it. So apparently she may have not liked the marriage for many reasons, but it's understood in legend that while her husband was dying, he asked her forgiveness for treating her really badly, and when she refused, she was cursed by him. She apparently haunts the every place that he holds, including the Chesky Krumlov Castle. Apparently she wrote a lot of letters to her brothers with really, really colorful descriptions of how unhappy she is. And even those letters have been handed down, apparently, so they survived and people still have them. She shows up in places in Rosenberg, in the Krumlov, as it was referred to earlier. The Jindrich of Hrodek, Trebon, and Telk. I really don't understand. Ooh, I have no idea how to pronounce any of that. And apparently this is also included in the Ancient Bohemian Legends book that was put out. The next iteration of this is from Estonia, and she's said to reside in the Haapsalu Castle, where canon or lore said that someone fell in love with her. She hid in the castle disguised as a choir boy and was discovered by a bishop visiting Haapsalu and subsequently immured on the wall of the chapel for her crime. So basically, because she's dressed up as a boy to be with somebody, she was basically buried alive in the wall of the church and died there. And because of that, she is said to show up on clear August full moons. So that's very specific. That's really oddly specific there. Okay. There are stories from Asian countries where men or women that die before a marriage are married to a living person. There's one involving a lotus pond in China. Interesting. That's not... I don't know if it was a woman in white, but it had a male figure and its neck looked crooked. Ooh, that's really creepy, Kyung. I'd be freaked out if I were you, but that's me. And I'm the horror person here. of course, there's German legends of this as well. There are several stories of these, and they are as follows. There are two people that are supposed to be the basis of a ghost haunting in Plassenburg, where the Countess Kunigunda of Orlamunde murdered her two children, and she did this because she believed this would allow her to marry a man named Albert of Nuremberg, who ended up marrying another woman instead of her. Sorry. And because of this, she became a nun until she died, as an abbess of the monastery in Himmelskron. She apparently has appeared in 1486, 1540, 1557, and 1677 as the harbinger of misfortune. And there are lots of different variations of this told, where she's the unfortunate widow Bertha of Rosenberg from Bohemia, overthrown by heathen Perkta. I guess that's a throwback to the Czech Republic one. There's also another one who is said to be the harbinger of death and misfortune, and is claimed to be in the Berliner Schloss in 1598, before the death of John George of Brandenburg, also showing up again in 1618, 1625, and 1940. I'm assuming, or up until 1940, I'm assuming the 1940 part is because of World War II. And apparently shows up in the castle where the kings of Prussia used to stay at, and is associated with multiple figures, most notably Anna Sitto, the paramour of Joachim II of Brandenburg, who's father of King George, and had two extramarital children. She was imprisoned in Spandau Citadel after Joachim's death by John George, despite his promise to take care of her, and she died there in 1575 without regaining freedom. So there's two alone in Germany, but there's more. Another is said to be in the castle of Dusseldorf, and that castle was built in 1260, demolished in 1896, but has an old tower remaining, and according to legend, a duchess named Jacobine and her lover were murdered by a jealous husband, and her ghost is said to still be there. Another place that's apparently haunted by a white lady of some sort is Burg Friedland in Brandenburg, and supposedly the daughter of a baronet cursed by her father for not giving him an heir. And according to the legend, her ghost haunts the castle and surrounding forests, strangling anyone who talks to her. Oof. It just gets darker, don't it? Another one is Burg Launik, and the site of a legend of a white lady, once again, stalking that castle. It's apparently supposed to be the ghost of Edilia Dubb, and she's the main character of The Diary of Miss Edilia. That's okay, that's not a lot of information, doesn't provide a whole lot, but still, there's a lot of them. The last one was kinky. Shut up, Mari. There's also a legend about an adulterous nobleman's wife in the civil parish of Battenhorst. Rita Weidenbruck, Westphalia, and it basically goes all the way back to the 30 Years' War. That's a long fucking time ago. But apparently the story goes that a nobleman encased her in a cellar of his manor in Haus Aussel to assure she could not betray him while he was away at war, and he never returned. So she died in that cellar, and her spirit haunts that premises afterwards. Interestingly enough, during the recent renovations in the manor, there were no human remains found that could give any factual basis to this legend. I know there's some Asian influences in here. I don't think there's a whole lot. most of this is European and American. Is in Europe, America, most, generally white areas or places in which it's mostly white people, it seems. There's another lady that haunts, or white lady that haunts, the forest of Ulberg near the famous Altmühltal, with its limestone underground and many potholes. Yeah, if you hear that a place has limestone anywhere, it's probably going to be haunted, because limestone apparently takes, like, snapshots of spirits, which is creepy. Hungary also has a white lady, and she's the ghost of a girl or young woman who died violently, like most of them did. And she's associated as someone who could be bound to a specific location, identified as a specific person, i.e. Elizabeth Bathory. There's a dude that speed walks through where I live, does. Oh, I'll bet. Hey, Tales of Enigma, welcome to the stream. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I started a little bit early, if anybody, doesn't know. I'm streaming a little bit early because I don't want to run into, Tommy C's stream at 1, I think it's 1 o'clock. No, it's noon, it's at noon, my time. So I don't want to run into that. And I'd like to at least get a decent stream out there for you guys. If anybody misses it, it's gonna be unlisted, but it'll be in a public, playlist with all the other available Halls of Horror episodes. I think there's only 2 episodes that aren't available anymore, and that's because one of them I wasn't very happy with, and the other one didn't record correctly. So I don't have that one on file, unfortunately. I'll have to go over Jeffrey Dahmer again at some point, because I think that's who it was that I missed. Or it was for the first episode and kind of just didn't stick. Yeah, I've heard a lot of really bad stories about limestone causing hauntings, so yeah, I'm well aware of that one, including some stuff from where my husband used to live when he was a kid. That's some freaky shit. I'll get into maybe at one point, but yeah. Anyway, Ireland has their own version. I guess actually 2 versions. One is in Charlesfort, Ireland, where a young woman died on her wedding night, which was apparently when she committed Sudoku following the death of her husband at the hand of her father. So basically, father killed husband on wedding night, and because of that, she committed Sudoku in Minecraft. Definitely some troubling stories, I'll tell you what. The second one, in which this is familiar in Ireland, is the woman in the white dress, or the An Bean Ban, and is seen in an abandoned house next to the White River in Dunneer, Colouth. Interesting. Now, here we go with Japanese folklore. They have the Yurei and Onryo, which are depicted as women with long black hair and a white dress. Yes, the ring, or Ju-on. These spirits apparently died very terribly deaths, and per Japanese culture, I'm saying white so many times it's fucking up everything I say, people are buried in white kimonos. So Japanese women usually have black hair, buried in a white kimono. There you go, woman in white. And this legend was cemented by the ring, or Ju-on, obviously. I like this music. I'm sorry. For a second, I was hearing it change and like, what's happening? Malta has a white woman. and she's apparently a female ghost that lives at Verdala Palace in the small forest of Bosquet, Rabat, Malta. Legend has it, she's the niece of Grandmaster de Rohan, and was engaged to be married to a suitor she didn't love. When her wedding day came up, just before the ceremony, she committed not alive by jumping off of a balcony, and appears as the White Lady because she was in a white wedding dress. She apparently haunts the Verdala Palace, and any people who attend the August Moon Ball confirm the apparition does appear in the palace. What is it with August moons? That's interesting. That's 2 places now. You notice that it's really weird how some things go across all of the world. It's like certain things from the indigenous here in the US or in the North America is some of the same stuff that's seen in Europe and Asia. It's really interesting how that stuff spreads. There's also another legend, the White Lady of Medina, who was killed by her lover after forced to marry another man. That's an opposite one. Usually it's the married man killing the wife over a lover, but it's the opposite this time. Huh. Interesting. Quartz is just as bad. My hometown has a lot of quartz, and there is a few hauntings there. We have a famous story of a lady dying in a mill fire that can be heard at midnight screaming. Yeesh. Let's not have to deal with any of that. But apparently, the White Lady of Medina, is claimed to be seen after 8 o'clock in the evening, usually shows up to children under 8, heartbroken teenage boys, and elderly men. She'll usually tell children goodnight and has them go home. She tells the teenagers to find someone else, or join her and become a part of her shadow, or ghostly followers. And so basically, she lets little kids go, and heartbroken teenagers, she either lets go or tells them, commit Sudoku with me and be part of my, like, ghostly followers. Weird. Okay, then. We have some in the Netherlands. Vroven in wheat, or I don't know. It's wheat Weaven? I don't know how to pronounce Norwegian. I need suplex. I don't speak that language. I could also be wrong. Wait, no, she's in Norway, not the Netherlands. Take that back. I don't know what what language is spoken in Netherlands. Sorry. Mix that up. But they're usually mythical creatures of Lower Saxon origin, and most known in eastern northern parts of the Netherlands. They can be benevolent or malevolent, which anything can be, I guess. Who sent me the link for the story? Oh, okay. Interesting. I'll have to look into that later, Mari. But that's probably really cool. I remember that an urban legend that I was told as a child, it was called the Hollow-Eyed Woman. I remember it was about the highway is quite infamous for the fatal accidents that happen to people traveling on it. It's when they get closer to her that they realize she isn't wearing any sunglasses, but instead her eyes are gouged out. Ooh, that's pretty creepy. Dutch. Ah. Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me, Mari, because I'm fucking stupid. I have my moments. I don't remember everything, man. I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. And back to the Netherlands stuff. But apparently she's related to witches and ghosts. And also is very similar to banshees, the fairies, and elves. Apparently, as malevolent beings, they abduct or switch newborns, abduct women, and punish people who have mistreated them. As benevolent beings, they aid in childbirth or offer good advice. I'm not gonna read all that dumb shit. They are apparently believed to dwell in Tumuli, the Hunabedin, and on the moors. Wisps of mist and fog banks are sometimes called White Wyvern. I don't know how to pronounce that. But another White Lady story is from the Schiddenveldsee Bosen Forest. And apparently this forest used to be the home to a castle farm that was built in 1396. Apparently the site was burned down and killed daughter of Lord Lambert Reynard, and this apparently spawned multiple versions of the White Lady ghost story based on women who burned with the castle farm. These usually involve women having two fighting lovers, or the site being burned on their wedding day by a jealous nobleman. But what is universal over all of these is that she now wanders the forest like a ghost in a long white dress, and some say she only appears at midnight, others say she appears on nights of the full moon. The site's referred to as Lamendam, after the ghost who supposedly haunts the area. And in Dutch, it's basically the French version of La Madame Blanche. And it's apparently now a protected historical site. Interesting. Apparently this is so popular that there are multiple different songs made about this, including in a type of music called Dutch symphonic black metal. Apparently a band named Karach Angren did a full concept album dedicated to this version of the White Lady. Interesting. Huh. I'll have to look up what Dutch symphonic black metal is. Learn something new every day, y'all. Learn something new every day. There are even some of these stories in the Philippines, interestingly enough. They're usually used to convey horror and mystery to young kids for storytelling. Obviously, a lot of the stories are, you know, to scare children to doing things they're supposed to be doing. That's typical. Really typical. The most prominent of these stories, though, is the White Lady of Ballet Drive in Quezon City. And she's apparently the ghost of a long-haired woman in a white dress, obviously, who died in a car accident while driving along Ballet Drive. A lot of them were told by taxi drivers during the graveyard shift, and when a taxi crosses Ballet Drive and a stunning woman is asking for a ride. This is very typical, again, we'll see. I think especially in the UK and in the US, for sure. The cabbie then looks behind and sees a woman's face was full of blood and bruises, causing him to abandon the taxi in terror. There are a few other instances where solitary people drive on the street in the early morning and briefly see the face of a white-clad woman in the rearview mirror before she quickly disappears. And apparently there are some accidents that are blamed upon seeing the White Lady in these instances. It's said that it's a possibility this was manufactured in the 1950s, but we're not totally sure. Russia has one of these as well. They are called the Maidens of Ule, and is an East Siberian legend of West Buryat people in the village of Ule, or Ungin. Irkutsk Oblast, Russia. Apparently, this one's about a young lady named Bulzuhai Duhai, who didn't want to get married, and she kept running away from her husband, who treated her very badly, and locked her in a black yurt instead of a traditional white one. Okay. She ended up committing not alive via hanging in a barn after singing and dancing at someone else's wedding for 8 days and 8 nights, feeling unwanted and unloved. Okay. Apparently, because she died, she became a spirit and joined other spirit maidens who haunt fiancés on their wedding day, bewitching them with their beauty and dragging them to the netherworld. Okay then, Russia. Okay then, we see you. Your fucking weirdness. Switzerland has a few of these as well. Not surprising. This one is associated with the Rolbu Castle in today's municipality of Minor in the canton of Geneva. Apparently the woman is supposed to be the first wife of Knight Humbert de Cholet. I don't know how to fucking pronounce that. De Cholet? I don't know. It's a weird spelling that I don't know how to pronounce. Who was in a swampy area at the beginning of the 14th century, or whose castle was in there. He apparently was pissed at her because she didn't have a son, and she's linked to the disappearance, or her ghost is, linked to the disappearance of people and deaths from unexplained causes. Not totally sure, apparently, if those were during moonless nights or the full moon, but it's undisputed that Christmas Eve is her preferred timing. Some will say that this person is resurrected along with everybody who was in that palace. And La Dame Blanche is herself rumored to be of striking beauty and wearing a diadem. There's a lot of different versions of this, and I'm not totally going to go into it, I guess. But, one of the versions is that on Christmas Eve, a 16-year-old, during the French occupation of Geneva, in the beginning of the 19th century, was widowed and an impoverished mom. She ended up having, like, a blood clot, or made somebody's blood clot, and they died. I don't totally understand what they're trying to say in this particular story, but she likes to go after people who do bad things. What are you? You made a meme? Let me see this meme you made, Redeemer. THS Hall or 33 spoilers without context. Yeah. I fucked up there. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being called out for that. That was dumb on my part, but I don't know what language they speak. Weird. Not really weird, but whatever. Another version of this is there's a dirt road through the fields next to the ruins of Chemin de la Dame Blanche, and the street about 1 kilometer to the north of the ruins bears the name Chemin de la Dame as well, and it's a bus stop where they basically see her pop up. Interesting. I would say it's not a good thing if you see a woman in white in the middle of the night, out in the middle of nowhere. Thailand also apparently has one of these, and there's a deserted house, or it's a story of teenagers going to a deserted house in Tawai Watana, a suburban Bangkok, to look for ghosts after died of accidents. Apparently, every case of this, witnesses claimed to have seen a mysterious long-haired woman in a white dress, and a medium claimed this was a vengeful spirit named Dao or Daon. Daon. I don't know how to pronounce that. Deuan. Really weird spelling of things, but that's the one from Thailand. Our last two places we're going to look at that have to do with this is the UK and the US, obviously. Duh. In England, there are 13 tales in total that suggest the White Lady may be a victim of murder or Sudoku, who died before she could tell anyone the location of some hidden treasure. One particular incidence of this is in 2019 in the castle of Blenkinsop in Northumberland. A family was living in this particular castle, and one night woke up to one of their boys screaming the White Lady. And when they showed up, she vanished. But the boy reported that the lady had been angry and tried to take him away after he refused to accompany her to a box of gold buried in the vaults below. She apparently wouldn't rest until it was gone, and this happened 3 nights in a row after that. Apparently the child was not disturbed while the kid was sleeping with his parents. And it scared the kid so bad that he didn't go running around alone because he was so fucking freaked out. I would be too. I really would. There's another version of this called the Running Lady of Beeford, East Yorkshire, and resides on the Beeford Strait, which is a stretch of road between Beeford and Brandisburton. A lot of motorists have seen her running across the strait towards a junction in North Frodingham, and tales also report motorcyclists picking up a female hitchhiker on the same stretch of road. After a few miles, upon turning around, they noticed the passenger was gone. And this apparently once caused the death of 6 people via car crash. Okay then, White Lady killing everybody here. There's another version of it in the Portchester Castle where she's retracing her steps before she jumped off of that castle while trying to retrieve her fallen child. And her spirit is said to haunt that castle. Yeesh. There's another one that haunts Oakenhampton Castle, and there's apparently a little song or ballad that's sung for the about the ghost that goes like this. My lady hath a sable coach with horses 2 and 4. My lady hath a gaunt bloodhound that goeth before. My lady's coach hath nodding plumes. The driver hath no head. My lady is an ashen white as one who is long dead. That's interesting. I like that. Huh. Apparently, she's a Howard lady from the 17th century, sorry, not the 19th, the 17th century, who murdered several husbands and children of hers, and her curse is to collect grass blades in the castle ruins until the end of time. There's no real historical event or person that correlates with that, but that's apparently the story. The last one from England is the ghost of a Pomeroy lady named Matilda, or Margaret from some people, who apparently haunts the Barry Pomeroy Castle near the Tautness of Devon. I don't know how to pronounce that. As a harbinger of death to everyone to see her in the dungeon of St. Margaret Tower. She's said to have been starved to death by her sister in the dungeon, and a novel called The Castle of Barry Pomeroy was created with this story in mind. Though that's just England itself, Wales has its own bit of Sorry, I'm hearing this music in the background and it's distracting me. Sorry. Apparently in Welsh tradition, Ilariwen, or the White Lady, or Dains Miwn Gwyn, Woman in White, is another common apparition in Celtic mythology of Wales. She's seen on Calan Gaeaf, Welsh Halloween, and is often evoked to warn children about bad behavior. She can be a terrifying ghost that is who may ask for help if you speak to her. Also associated with restless spirits guarding hidden treasures, with perhaps the best known being that of Ogmore Bridgen. This particular apparition is noteworthy for having many archetypal aspects common in such Celtic and Welsh stories, including a cauldron, changing physical characteristics, causing chastising morality. She's said to wander the area until a man finally approached her. When they do approach her, she'll lead them to a treasure or a cauldron full of gold, hidden under a heavy stone within the old tower of Ogmore Castle, and allows him to take half the treasure for himself. But when they return to get more treasure, the spirit gets pissed, her fingers turns to claws, and attacks them and chases them away. Apparently, they will become gravely ill, and only die once they confess of their greed. And after that, that was basically named as an ailment called Ilariwen's Revenge. Interesting. And any person who died before disclosing hidden treasure. Interesting. There's also a village of Iwani that has both a White Lady's Meadow and a White Lady's Lane. And apparently there's a tradition of Ilariwen in Saint Athen. Anyone walking up to a ghost to ask for directions. Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I can't imagine dealing with that stuff. And now we are finally at the US. We can talk about the US versions of The Lady in White. Yay! Means we're almost done. We did it. The first Lady in White from the US is said to haunt the Durand Eastman Park in Rochester, New York. She's also known as a Lady in the Lake, and is apparently a 19th century lady who walks the park area looking for her daughter's body. Apparently, her daughter was slain by a boyfriend or group of hoodlums, depending on what story you hear, and she either committed Sudoku out of grief, died alone of heartbreak, which either way is sad. The next one we have is the White Lady of Avenel, who apparently is an apparition at Avenel, or Bedford, Virginia, or in Bedford, Virginia. She is thought to be Mary Frances Fran Burwell of the Burwell family, and quote-unquote, legend has it that she stayed on the front porch for her husband to come home from the Civil War, but he never did. There's apparently a story called The Ghost Sphinx of Metadekong? Metadekong? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's really, really long, really weird-looking word. By somebody named Stephen Crane, and talks about a white lady whose lover was drowned in 1815. There are reported sightings in Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut, of a white lady since the 1940s. It also haunts the nearby Stepney Cemetery in Monroe, Connecticut. Everywhere. These things are everywhere. It's fucking ridiculous. Tulamato Cemetery in St. Augustine, Florida, also is the home of a white lady haunting since the 19th century. Legend states that the ghost is of a young woman who died suddenly on her way to being married and was buried in her wedding dress. That one's typical. Hi, Dark Lord Sauron. Welcome to the stream. And yes, very creepy. All this is really creepy. Especially how, like, it's the same stories over and over again. It just tells you that it's very common. It's a worldwide kind of thing. Another one is in Mukilteo, Washington. And there's apparently reports of a vanishing hitchhiker just off the Clearview Drive in the forest or on a road near the tree line. Chicago, Illinois also has sightings of a person named Resurrection Mary. And is apparently both the White Lady and vanishing hitchhiker type of legend. Madisonville, Louisiana has the Silk Lady, who is said to haunt Palmetto Flats by Highway 22. That story goes back to the mid-1800s, where a woman was riding back from after seeing her lover off, and while riding down the road, of an old logging trail, a snake spooked her horse. She fell, hit her head, and died as a result of the injury. She's reported to be dressed in a wispy silk dress, that her feet don't touch the ground. When she sees someone, she's said to cackle like a banshee. That's creepy. I don't want to run into that. There's one in Altoona, Pennsylvania, who's called the White Lady of Wapsie. Wapsie. She apparently haunts Wapsanonock Mountain and Buckhorn Mountain in the western part of Altoona. And it's apparently said that her and her husband had an ill-fated crash over what's known as Devil's Elbow. And both of them tumbled over the side of the mountain. Apparently, she's seen looking for her husband on foggy nights, picked up as a hitchhiker, and her reflection is not seen in the mirror, but she always disappears around Devil's Elbow. Hey, there's some California ones. Woo. One is in Yermo, California at the Calico Ghost Town. Oh, I know where that is. I've heard this one. And she's said to be seen roaming the outskirts of the town, and was written about in the book Welsh in the Old West. Fremont, California also has one of these, and she's seen in the Niles Canyon. Her name is Lowry, and apparently she's one of the first people killed in an automobile accident in the area. They see her in a cemetery in the area with strange lights, and the legend states, you can see her walking the ridge between the Niles Hollywood sign and the canyon. Huh. There are 3 more that I want to go over, and I'll go over one of them in detail because it's the original reason why I decided I wanted to cover this part, or this particular urban legend. The first of those last 3 is in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, with the woman in white connected to the Burnt Bridge Road's history. In 1970, or in the 1970s, a woman was killed in a car accident while crossing a wooden bridge over a small gully, and the resulting fire destroyed the bridge, but was later rebuilt. And apparently she is seen charred and decaying by the bridge where it was originally built. Whew. I don't think I'd be able to handle seeing a burnt up woman walking around in the middle of the night somewhere. Second to last version of this is in Dallas, Texas, at White Rock Lake Park, where the ghost of a 20-year-old looking girl known as the Lady of White Rock Lake shows up wearing a water-soaked 1930s evening dress, and usually appears at night alongside the road of East Lother Drive. She's claimed to be asking people to take her to her home on Gaston Avenue in Dallas before she just disappears during the car ride. She's thought to be a drowning victim of a boating accident in the 1930s, and apparently these encounters were published in Dallas area newspapers in the 1960s. We've got one more story to talk about, and that's the lady in white that's seen off of Route 55 in New Jersey. And apparently this is the site of a lot of is apparently like a former Indian burial ground area that ended up becoming a highway and is apparently very much cursed. This one's interesting because there's a lot of deaths associated with the creation of this highway, including one of a 34-year-old crew member who was struck and killed by an asphalt roller rack 2 months after the project began. After that, an inspector fell dead of a brain aneurysm, a worker succumbed to cancer, the wind blew a crewman off a bridge, and another worker's feet turned black from circulatory disorder. Hey party, welcome. And all this is apparently really true. 2 crew members suffered heart attacks. Family members of employees developed cancer or other serious ailments, and a van carrying 5 crew members caught fire for no apparent reason. That's pretty creepy. It is a bad one. But apparently, because this is a native burial ground, there's a lot of really bad things associated with it. This is the article I was looking at, but what I wanted to bring up is something associated with this, and I'm going to turn the... This is a video that I saw on TV at one point, and it's so damn creepy to me. It's so creepy. This is somebody had caught this on camera on Route 55 while driving home in the middle of the night, and this was I initially saw this video on the Travel Channel because they were doing these shows about paranormal stuff, and I sometimes have a little bit of an interest in that. And this is the particular video. Like, you can already see that figure there. This is already going to be creepy. Is this... Yep, that's the highest quality it's going to get. But this is the video. Slowed down. Of this guy driving right past whatever the fuck this is. What the fuck is that? What is that? Let's look at that again, because that's really creepy. That's really creepy. Like, look at that. That can't be faked. And then it just disappears. Wow. But that's the route. That's Route 55. And yeah, there's a lot of white lady apparitions. There's a lot of videos of these women being found everywhere. Freaking everywhere. So I felt I had to kind of cover this at some point, and I'm really glad that I did get to, and I'm really glad to be back. I have a lot of stuff that I want to cover. Why is great grandma on the side of the road? I don't know, Mari. It's fun. It's really creepy. Either way, it's usually not a good sign. But I'm really glad to be back, and I'm glad you guys come out and welcome back the Halls of Horror streams. I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, and I'm still in the middle of getting some stuff done regarding the next video that's coming out. I'm hoping to have it out next weekend. There's a lot going on, and it's thrown some stuff back. But I'm doing another movie review. After that, I'm doing the next level of the iceberg, the creepypasta iceberg, and I'm hoping to have some of that stuff out for you guys the movie review this coming week out, and then and after that, the iceberg, and then the next case for Tales of Terror I'm going to go over is the Elisa Lam case, the one that I brought up during the Cecil Hotel Halls of Horror stream, all of which you can find in a playlist on my my channel. Every one of these is going to be unlisted afterwards, just because it makes it look cleaner, and at the suggestion of the Half-Baked podcast guys when they did the review of the channel. So it's in that playlist. It will still be available if you click the link on the Twitter that I sent out, or any of the servers that I post that link in. You should still be able to get to see this afterwards. I am feeling a lot better, Dev. Having gotten my gallbladder removed helped a lot with my health, and I'm finally getting back on getting all this other stuff done. It's just a process, on top of, running another channel on top of this. I do run the Boxed Wine Babes or Box Wine Bitches channel. So, sorry you guys didn't get that stream either yesterday. Life happens again. But we will be back next Saturday to do that one. Other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday at somewhere between 10 and 11 a.m. to go over the next topic for the Halls of Horror. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a wonderful evening and sweet nightmares.